I'm bumping you out the way.
You're okay.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Barganier. My husband and I are from Pike Road, Alabama, where we own and operate an interior design firm. I also serve on the Board of Advisors for the School of Interior Design at Auburn University, and we have one of our students with us this morning. For our entire careers, Jeff and I have worked hard. We've worked hard and we've enjoyed the financial blessings of establishing a nationally recognized design firm. But the last couple of years, we, as many other small business leaders, have experienced a difficulty that we've not seen in many, many years. From supply chain interruptions to unrealistic COVID restrictions, just keeping the doors open some days has been difficult. As I'm meeting and mentoring with young people today who are preparing to enter into the workforce, I'm hearing fear for what their future looks like. Tim James has the character and the business experience. I'm going to say that again. The business experience to lead Alabama forward. His attitude toward taxes, regulation, and government interference are exactly what we need in Alabama's governor's mansion. It is my honor and my privilege this morning to introduce my friend and fellow Greenvillian, Tim James, candidate for governor.
Thank you. It is good to be here. I was in Montgomery not too long ago and got in the governor's race. We had a press conference on the Capitol steps, but with the weather a little shaky today, Mr. Pugh, we chose to come here. Is this okay with you? Yes, sir. Ms. Josie, good with you? I want to thank you for that kind introduction. You know, small business women like Cindy Barganier are the ones who make Alabama's economy work. And it's with the strong support of businessmen and businesswomen, faith leaders, Mr. Giles, grassroots champions like her is the reason that we're going to win this election in a couple of months. Just a couple of months ago, as I said, I stood here in Montgomery in front of this Capitol and launched this campaign for governor. I said I was running for governor because our nation is at a tipping point. We'll either go the way of Marxism, where government controls everything in our lives under the yoke of fear and intimidation, or we'll turn this nation back where freedom rings again. Our nation's at a tipping point. Unfortunately, the working people of Alabama are at a breaking point. We are experiencing the largest inflationary spike in 40 years. Think about it. Caused by the broken supply chains, too much dependency on Chinese manufacturing, worker shortage caused by unprecedented federal handouts that will be paid for by future generations. The skyrocketing federal debt combined with an all-out war by liberals on American and Alabama energy producers has made it worse. The average Alabama family is feeling the pain of soaring prices for gas, groceries, basic foods, basic services. For many families, these higher prices aren't just affecting their decision about whether to go on a vacation, to buy a car or a home. It's affecting whether they can fill up their car with gas or make their house payment or sign the kids up for baseball. That's how serious this is. People of Alabama are fed up. And while we blame the Democrats for bad policies coming out of Washington, It is our Republican governor and those who follow her in the legislature who are failing to lead here in Alabama. Let me explain what I mean. This year, we are sitting on a $1.5 billion surplus in our state budget. $1.5 billion with a B. Think about it. And if you consider the carryover from last year, we have a surplus of $1.8 billion. That is a lot of dough. And you know what our Republican governor and leadership in the legislature are going to do with this money? They're going to spend it. Every penny. Some of the proposed line items are not what we need when people are hurting otherwise. Let me give you a few examples. And it's not that these things are bad. That's not the point. It's the inappropriate thing to do at this time, in this season, when people are suffering. $7 million for a geological survey of a new building. Think about that. $7 million just to dig a few holes in the ground. Maybe they ran into something. I don't know. It's just like money grows on trees. For over $5 million to the Marine Environmental Services Consortium. Y'all stay with me. Which is to pay for, among other things, cafeteria serving line modernizations. Let me repeat that. Cafeteria serving line modernizations. Mr. Giles, you got any idea what that is? Mr. Slauson, do you have any idea what that is? I'm guessing this. I thought about this last night. I thought to myself, I was laying in the bed thinking about this line item of $5 million. Maybe they're going to build one of those moving walkways like in airports right down the food line because they're looking for efficiency. We'll have to find out exactly what that is. $3 million for another building. $3 million for the Alabama Space Science Exhibit. I'm sure that's a worthy cause. But this is a different time. $700,000 to the Department of Public Health for a new mobile facility for hearing screening for the Lions Club. I love the Lions Club. I spoke to the Lions Club a month ago. These are good causes. It's just not appropriate at this time. $100,000 to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. Another good cause. It's just not the appropriate time. The issue is judgment. Money does not grow on trees. And that is the problem. And if that's not all, during these tough times for our working families, Alabama state legislators have made sure 100% that they get their big, fat, 4% legislative pay raise. They're getting a pay raise of over $2,000 this year per legislator, added to their already $51,000 annual salary for a part-time job. Courtesy the taxpayers of Alabama. It's unbelievable. Let me put this in context. Do you know how much Florida legislators get paid for the exact same thing for their part-time job? $30,000 a year. Alabama legislators get paid now $53,000 a year with this tax increase, with this salary increase, and Florida legislators are getting paid $30,000. Something is wrong with that. So for this big fat $51,000 base salary plus the increase for our legislators, you would think that they would spend less time pushing gambling, pushing marijuana legislation, which is in the disguise as medicine, which it is not. It is the biggest lie that's ever been put on the people of Alabama. It is a bait and switch. pushing gas taxes. They should be doing less, spending less time on that and more time tackling our failing school systems and economy. Part-time. It's not a bad pay for part-time work, is it? Alabama state government doesn't have a revenue problem. It has a spending problem. Spending problems are not possible without a taxing problem. Every year, almost every one of Alabama's homeowners gets stuck with higher property taxes just because the values are going up. Have there been any conversations about property tax relief? I've heard none. Have there been any conversations about income tax rebates? I've heard none. And of course, we are all painfully aware that every time we buy gas, we get hit with Governor Ivey's forever increasing gas tax. It's got to be fixed. With this surplus in these difficult times, it is unconscionable for our leaders not to consider serious tax cuts. There's good news, though. Legislature's still in session. They're in town. Governor still has time. Here's what I suggest, and I hope they'll listen. First, I would suspend Governor Ivey's forever increasing gas tax, and then I'd repeal it. Now, some argue that 10 cents a gallon is not a big deal. This gas tax, when they did it, without the escalation, this dime was a 55% increase in this tax. That's unheard of. We've done a review. We could be wrong. I think we're right. I think that is the largest tax increase on a percentage basis in the history of this state. That's how serious. That's how out of touch, out of balance these people are. Repealing it will put $300 million back into our economy by reducing the tax every time we buy fuel. Second, I would immediately move to repeal once and for all the state's grocery tax on essential food. This is just another way to alleviate the financial pain for families fighting to make ends meet and putting $500 million back into our economy. There's a bill floating around in the Senate to ease the burden on the privilege tax, the business privilege tax. You know, I've always heard about the privilege tax because you pay it. And I never thought about it until now. I ask myself, is it really a privilege to pay this tax? I don't know who came up with the name, but this is sort of like calling the marijuana legislation the Compassion Act. It's not true. We're not lucky. We don't need to ease this privilege tax. We should end it entirely. That would ensure $186 million in tax relief for job creators, eliminate the wasted time associated with the mountain of paperwork and red tape. And finally, we should cut in half and eliminate many of the occupational license taxes and fees that eat at us all the time. According to the reports, there are 150 occupations in charge that are being charged, people in these businesses all over the state. $100 million in taxes is in play here. It would seem to make sense that for some of these occupations, you don't need government oversight or any sort of licensing at all. Let me give you a few of these. This is my favorite today, because some of this is absurd on its face. Auctioneers, $200. Barbers, cut your hair, $75. Cosmetologist, $100. A natural hairstylist, $100. Ms. Josie, may I ask you a question? What is the difference in a cosmetologist and a natural hairstylist? Could you help me out?
Sounds like the amount of taxes they pay.
Security guards, $25. And here's my favorite. I want y'all to listen to me in the press. Tree surgeon, $175. Now, what is a tree surgeon? Does he wear a stethoscope? I don't know. I'm making light, but this is not funny. It's serious. What it is the weight. It's the weight. One of these little things one-on-one are not a huge deal, but adding on top of each other, they're weighting down and causing terrible damage to working families. Now, immediately after I'm done today with this press conference, I guarantee you the lovers of big government right here in town are going to begin asking, well, how's James going to pay for this? How's he going to do it? Is he just talking? Here's how we're going to do it. Number one, I would use the full $1.5 billion surplus without the carryover to pay for these moves this year. Then we will take the projected growth, revenue growth over the next 2 fiscal years, which is about $400 million a year, and simply hold our spending flat. Not even cuts, just flat level spending, and we'll absorb these tax cuts in 24 months, even without the $1.5 billion. I don't suggest things unless we have thought through them and we can pay for them. As governor, I will direct all agencies to implement zero-based budgeting across the entire spectrum, which means that each agency will have to justify every penny that they spend. And I will appoint a review board, not bureaucrats, not insiders, business people, people that get up every day and go to work and they feel this pain. They're the ones that need to look at this with a clean set of very sober eyes. And they would report directly to me and review every contract and vendor agreement in state government and especially in our education system. While I hope that the governor and the legislature pay attention to my recommendations, my guess is that they won't. This state needs leadership at this time. Every time I turn around, every day, I see an announcement about Governor handing out more money to these pet projects. It's like she's Miss Claus at Christmas. That's Santa's wife, in case y'all forgot. Just handing it out like it just grew on a tree. This is not her money. It is the people's money generated by the sweat of their brow. And even if it were her money, government does not grow an economy when it hands out chunks of cash. If that were the case, the federal welfare system would be the biggest success of all time. As governor, my job plan was not to hand out money. My plan is to cut taxes, to eliminate red tape, to create world-class schools for every child, whether they choose to go to college or seek technical training. Educating our children is the key. We're dead last It is an embarrassment what has happened to this state educationally in the last decade to a decade and a half. We used to say, thank God for Mississippi. Now they say, thank God for Alabama. This must be reversed now. When I'm governor, I'll lead a serious conversation about how to reduce our overall tax burden, including income and property taxes. But until then, the people of Alabama deserve a break. Governor Ivey, I urge you to take action while the legislature is in session. You are sitting on $1.5 billion with a big, big B in surplus. Right now, the only thing our working families of Alabama are getting for this is low priority spending, higher gas taxes, and raises for legislatures when it is absolutely not deserved. For the rest of us, it is time to fight back. Thank you so much. I'd love to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Just to be clear, what you're presenting these as a list of suggestions for the legislature right now. Is it fair to say if you were elected governor, things like repealing the gas tax, repealing the grocery tax, repealing the business privilege taxes would be part of your first state of the state as governor?
It is more than fair to say. And the reason, but it really needs to be done now, because time is of the essence, because people truly are suffering. And if you travel the state of Alabama, as I have, top to bottom, from the Tennessee Valley to Mobile, and speak to as many people as I have, you begin to get, and I started getting a strong feel of where people really are, not what they say, not what people say, not what the press says, but where they truly are, and they are being pinched at every step. And you know, I guess what I've seen in this government is this callousness to what people's plight. It's like they're on another planet. It's like they don't feel what other people are feeling, and they right at the end of the upper hill on Dexter Street, they just go about their business without regard to where people are. And that's the problem with this legislature. That's the problem with this governor. That's the problem in Washington, is we have forgot what really matters. Any more questions, please? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jones, Kim Chandler, the Associated Press.
Kim
You said you
Chandler.
want to improve schools, but you're also proposing, as I understand it, you're not going to replace the grocery tax revenue with anything, right?
Correct. The natural growth, even without the 1.5. Let me explain that. The natural growth in government is running about $400 million a year. Okay? Year over year. It's a lot of money. The $500 million is the ticket on the grocery tax. Now this is essential food. This is chicken, it's turkey, it's bread, it's eggs, it's steak, it's crackers, it's not beer, it's not wine, the essential things. With a $400 million growth, the shortfall is $500 million. So all you have to do is level fund for 1 year, plus a little bit, and you cover the spread or the shortfall on the grocery tax. So Kim, that's how we handle it. So we're not solely relying on the 1.6 billion, but it would be the wise thing to do.
Now, how are we going to improve schools if we're decreasing that funding?
Because there's no correlation. If it were, we'd have the best in the country. So over the last decade, the revenue into the education trust fund's been growing almost twice the rate of inflation. Now, we all can speculate on how did we go from 39th in reading in 2009 and 25th in math a few years before to 50th. Everybody stop and think about that. Think about what I'm saying. We were here 10 to 12 years ago, and now we're dead last. At the same time, the revenue line's been going like this. We've got to attack education. For the first time in my life, I think there's a chance. And that's because we're dead last. And as people of this state begin to really sink in where we are, steam comes out of their ears because they pay these taxes. Number one, we've got to get discipline back into our public schools. I can't tell you that in my travels, the numbers of teachers that I talk to all the time, they will tell you, and they're leaving left and right. Everybody knows this. They're leaving because they can't teach. They have discipline problems in their class that goes on and on and on and on. And no one does anything about it. They are babysitters. At some point, you have to take children with problems. Maybe they're special needs children, or maybe they just need tough love and discipline. But you have to get them out of the classroom so that teachers can teach the remaining children that want to learn. Number two, where you have strong principals, you're going to have improving schools. Where you have failing, lousy principals, it's going to go down the tube. We have to get the best principals in this country into the underperforming schools, and you got to give them full authority to do whatever they need to do to turn those schools around. And somebody's got to have their back. This is the important thing. Because what will happen if you put a strong principal in a failing school and you give this authority to the principal, they're going to come after them, man or woman. It doesn't matter, because they're shaking the system up. They're doing the things that must be done, and the one that has that person's back must be a governor. That's how it works. I'm an advocate of school choice. It's kind of in the news these days. What that means is that money goes into a school. If a parent is unhappy with an underperforming school, it gives them a voucher or a tax credit where they can take their child out of that school and put them in any other public school that has a slot, any private school, and I mean with no strings attached. Same with home schools, charter schools. I'm big on charter schools. Especially, we think about charter schools in areas of the state that are rural and you don't have a lot of options, like West Alabama. K-1, 2, 3, that's the foundation. We know it. We've known it for years. If a child is performing in reading and math at the third grade, they're on a trajectory to graduate from high school with a diploma. That means something. If they're behind when they leave the third grade, they fall behind, they never catch up. This is what we have to do. Now, this is economic development. Y'all think about this. Company comes to Alabama, wants to put a plant in Montgomery, or Dothan, or Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Auburn, Scottsboro, you name it. Here's what they're going to do. They're going to start looking around. They're going to look at the roads, and they're going to look at this, and they're going to look at that, and they're going to look at the general demographics. Sooner or later, they're going to say, well, tell us about your education. You're going to have to look at them and say, well, let's talk about something else. What do you mean? Well, we're dead last. That is not a selling job. That's not a good selling pitch. That is a problem. And it has happened, and I think I understand it. It's happened because you have a governmental system, a bureaucracy right here that controls this state, and their interest is not children. Their interest is to protect their bureaucracy and their systems. If they were, we wouldn't be in the shape that we're in. That's why it is education, K through 12, and then inside of that K1, 2, 3, 4 will be an issue, Kim, that I will spend a lot of time focusing on, and we've spent a lot of energy already with teachers, educators across this state. And I hope and I pray that this legislature, when the time comes, will be ready to tackle this like I am. Yes, sir.
Just to follow up on Kim's question, your revenue plan, it seems like it relies heavily on the assumption that the economy will continue to grow in the state. Like, do you have plans for what might happen if there's a recession that hits income and sales taxes particularly hard?
Well, that's a good question, because that could certainly happen. You know, we've been on a crazy ride with all this stimulus. And every stimulus, I want to warn the people of this great state to be mindful and vigilant, because the stimulus, especially the federal stimulus during COVID, this is how it works. All this, I think $50 billion has come into Alabama in the form of PPP, and a lot of it's worth good stuff. It was a scary time. But the federal government does not have this money. Everybody needs to understand this. What they're doing, they're borrowing money. They float treasury bonds and treasury bills and these things, and they borrow this money from bondholders, and they send it to the states, and then our future generations, our children and our grandchildren, have to pay it back. At some time, at some point, the music will stop. You know why I know that? Because it always does. That's why I take a very conservative approach. Everything I've spoken today is assuming the historical pattern. I have not even delved in to cutting anything yet. Now, I can tell you, because I know how sloppy Montgomery is, it is going to be easy to cut government 5 to 10%, and that's without a hiccup. They've gotten fat, government's gotten soft, government's gotten sloppy, government's gotten inefficient, and the pork inside this system, I can tell you, is going to be unlike anything that we've ever seen in the history of this state. And the reason I know it is because I've looked at the total numbers. I've looked at the total revenue line, and I know a big when I see one.
So if just to follow, just so I'm clear, but if the economy fell into recession, would you reconsider proposing any of these items?
Always reconsider, but I do not think that's likely. Unless you have a depression. But then in a depression, we're going to cut the heck out of spending anyway. So I think less taxes grows the economy. And this idea that we go into a recession, therefore we can't cut, therefore we're going to force people to pay more taxes, is backwards. So there's very few scenarios that I can imagine that you would not follow through, especially on the grocery tax and on the gas tax, which is the essential taxes. Everybody's gotten so accustomed to taxes. 150 occupational taxes. Every time you go do something, you pay a tax. It's a local tax, state tax, all this. And there's so many of them, we don't even think about it anymore. And so less regulation, less tax, less government in our way, and let free enterprise work. Let me mention something about job creation, and this is something I disagree with the governor on. The governor says we created 50,000 jobs or whatever it is. Government does not create jobs. Now they can create government jobs, but government does not create real jobs. Private enterprise, entrepreneurs, business people, they create jobs because they spend capital, they take risk, they may make money, they may go broke. That's how job creation really works in the real world. And when I hear politicians, and I'm telling you, I'm not one, when I hear them say, oh, we created all these jobs, you did not. That's not government's role. Government's role is to use the money that citizens send to Montgomery and educate our children, number one, get out of people's way. Government's role is to protect citizens, to protect our people. Government's role is not to force children into wearing a mask long since its time and doing unbelievable harm to them. Our children, we have first, second, and third graders who are in school and have never been to class without a mug on. We now know that they're behind and they're learning because they can't hear the sound. They learn because of the sound. They read lips, Kim. They look at their faces. That's how they learn to speak. That's what phonics is. Against their parents' wishes. The emotional damage. We know what it is now. So all these things. So we're standing here looking at this, and if you were flying over Montgomery at 30,000 feet, looking down at the things that I'm talking about in Alabama, you would think you were on the West Coast or something. That's how far the people who are managing this state, the leadership from the governor down, have fallen from who we are as a people. Now y'all gotta hit me with some tough questions. These are easy ones. Come on.
Tim, one more on the gas.
Yes, ma'am.
Lawmakers have said they think it is short-sighted to repeal. Some seem divided on pause because they say that is an investment in infrastructure. You yourself talked about the importance of roads and economic improvement, and you know from your business, you talked about the importance of infrastructure. Why do you disagree with them?
What they should have done is this. First of all, 10 cents was way out of it. 55% tax is unheard of. Maybe they didn't do the math. Maybe no one showed the governor a chart of oil and gas, a 40-year chart where they could see this oil goes up, oil goes down, gas goes up and down. It's way too high. Now, I'm a road guy. I'm a builder. I'm a bridge builder. I get it. And I understand road construction better than anybody in this governor's race and better than anybody in the legislature, including the governor. And I understand that our DOT had gotten grossly inefficient. And I'm going to give you some examples real quick since we're talking about roads. They spent $60 million on the I-10 bridge across the bay down there, and they got nothing to show for it. They have a program right now, a proposal to build this road across West Alabama. Everybody heard about it? All the way up 43. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Well, that sounds like a worthwhile project, to help improve West Alabama. That's fine. But I bet you didn't know how they were going to pay for it, Mr. Slauson. They're going to pay for it with 100% state money. Now let me tell you what dumb is. These are some dumb bunnies, whoever are making this decision. Because if you sink $700 million into that one road, you're going to lose the matching federal dollars. So in other words, when you use that $700 million of our money, with the federal matching dollars, you can build $3.3 billion in roads. So if you burn up $700 million in state dollars, you're foregoing the federal matching dollars, which would be $2.3 billion. Now, what kind of knucklehead would trade $700 million for $2.3 billion? Y'all follow me? Anybody not follow me? In other words, you take the $700 million, that's your matching, that's your state portion. The feds will give you another 2.3, okay? Now you have $3 billion to build roads. But if you take that $700 million on this road up through West Alabama, absorb it all in that one project, you're giving up the federal matching dollars. This is not smart. This is nuts. It's goofy. It's so crazy. So when I hear the rhetoric coming out of these people up the street, up the hill, and then I look at what they're doing, it holds no water. It's ill thought. So we're going to stay the course on this thing, and we're going to err on the side of caution as it relates to taxes in all situations. Anything else, please? Any more questions? Is that it? Any comments? Well, thank you to the press corps. Thank you. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming out this rainy morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming. All these signs, stop the gas tax, reduce our taxes. I love it. Please help us. Families are struggling, Brother Barganier. So thank y'all, and we will do this again. I suspect these get-togethers are going to begin to grow in scope and numbers as we get closer to May 24th. Thank you, and God bless you. See you guys. See you later. See you later. What's going on? How you doing? Hey there. Hey there, pretty. Give me 5, baby. What's your name?